Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Defense Radio, the podcast. I am your host, Josh Nahosa, and I am an independent advisor representative for Swan DFW. And I am here with the man who pours Coca-Cola on a car battery and calls himself an auto mechanic.
Oh, well, I am, because that is the most mechanical thing I've ever done.
It is Hector and Josh.
Shout out to Brian and Robert, because one gave me the advice and I had to confirm with the other one, because they do have a tendency to put me on, but it actually worked. I had a lot of corrosion on the battery, and Coca-Cola did it, and it's kind of scary what Coca-Cola does to battery acid, what it does to us. And I only drank like 12 to 15 Cokes a day for 15 years, so I'm sure I'm fine.
Yeah. Some frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
No, the car did not explode.
It did not.
Yes, the car did start.
It did.
And
Still starting.
Hector is a certified financial planner, which is the top mark in our industry.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to see if I can add an A for auto mechanic. But I don't think they're going to.
PA.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll let me do that. Anyway.
So, this last week we talked about retiring in your 40s.
Right.
If you're in your 40s.
What to do to start planning for retirement. I mean, it'd be cool to retire at 40, but
Right,
start.
yeah. Things to think about in your 40s when planning for your retirement.
Right.
If you're in your 40s, go back a week and watch that episode.
Yeah.
This week, we're doing the same, but for people in their 50s.
Yeah.
Things you should think about. Much of it is the same. It's a little different as you get a little older.
50 is one of the magic numbers, because we'll talk about catch-up provisions, stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to, I mean, there's only about 6 or 7 things you need to do, but it's good to talk about them.
For sure. And then next week, we're doing 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
So we're just working up the list here.
When you get to 90 and how to plan for retirement, something's very wrong.
Right. So before we do that, though, last week we talked about the Olympic sport that you feel like you could compete in. You said being a couch potato. This week, the question I have for you is, what's your favorite sport to watch from the Olympics?
You know, that's kind of a hard one, because the other night we were watching gymnastics. Okay. I know nothing about gymnastics, but just watching the excitement of the young men, the men's gymnastic team, and they finally won a medal after, 16 years or so. That's just really, really fun. And how they celebrated with each other when they won a bronze. I don't know what they would have done had they won a gold, but that was a good thing for America. But I like, and maybe because I ran a little track when I was in middle school, the relays, the 4x100, that's where everybody runs 100 meters. Basically, it's one lap around and you have 4 people. It goes really, really fast. And you got to run fast, but you also have to hand off well. And so that, and the 1600, everybody runs a 400 meter, one lap around. And it's just different when you're going full speed and the person you're going to hand it to is starting to go to full speed, and the timing of that just has to be really good. And you can't hide a failure. There's just no, oh man, so yeah, I like, but man, the Olympics are exciting. Don't you think the Olympics are exciting?
Yeah. I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said they're not patriotic in any way except for 2 weeks
in the summer and in the winter.
Yeah, every 2.5 years when the summer and winter Olympics roll around. I think my favorite is the skateboarding, the freestyle, or the BMX racing. I think that's a lot of fun on the little course. Yeah, but that's a generational difference, I think.
Way generational. I don't think skateboards were invented when I was, but it is fun, and it's just something about, I don't remember who, maybe it was the diving team won a gold medal, and there's just something about watching them stand there with their gold medal and the American flag going up and the Star Spangled Banner. It's real easy to be patriotic. And we're having a good week. It's a morning in America again. The excitement is exciting, and it's a good time to be an American, I think.
I would agree. All right, so let's move on to retirement.
Okay.
Now that we've exhausted Olympic talk, let's go through. We have some tips from a Bankrate article. The article will be linked in the description of either the YouTube or Facebook or Spotify, wherever you're watching this or listening to it. And let's just get going.
Well, and before we get into the article, the question we often get is, when is the best time to start planning for retirement? Legitimate question. The answer is 5 years ago. The second best time is today. And, so hopefully those of you that heard our deal last week did all those things when you were 40. So when you get 50, it's just a matter of tweaking. But if you're 50 and you think, oh man, I haven't started, it's a lost cause. It's not. Just start today, give us or somebody like us a call, and let's put a plan together. But the best time is do it today. Don't wait till next week, next month, next year. Do it today, because otherwise 5 years from now, you'll be wondering why you didn't get started today. Now,
right. So the first thing here is kind of setting realistic goals for yourself. And that kind of ties to what you were saying. Obviously, somebody that has been socking away money for retirement since they were in their late 20s or their career started is going to be in a much different situation and have the ability to have much bigger goals probably than somebody who has not started and is now able to start putting money away when they're 50.
Yeah, and realistic goals really is going to be based on what you're used to living on, right? If all of your life you've made $80,000 or $90,000 and you want to retire with $150,000 in income, that might be a little tough unless you started when you were, in your 20s. Mm-hmm. But I don't want people to be discouraged by reading an article that says by the time you're 50, you should have $1 million in your portfolio, and by the time you're 60, you should have $1.5 million. You may not need that much. Now you may if you're making a couple, $300,000-$400,000 a year. But if you're a school teacher making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, you may not need $2 or $3 million. So realistic goals both ways, not too big income, but realize that you may not need that big bucket of money just because you may not need that kind of income. The whole idea here is to retire with about 80% of your last 3 years' income, because then you're able to maintain your standard of living as you get into retirement. And that simply means if you're like going out to dinner 2 or 3 times a week and come watch a movie and go to a ball game, you'll have enough income to continue to do that lifestyle even as you don't generate a paycheck anymore.
Right. I think it works the other way too. You want to set realistic expectations or goals of you're not going to go from $100,000 paycheck living off of that to when I retire, I'll live off $30,000.
Oh, so that's very true. We've had, I remember distinctly between he and his wife, they were making, I want to say $160,000. And he was convinced that he could live on, I think it was about $2,000 a month. And I said, okay, well, if that's true, and you're making, call it $30,000 a year, $2,500 a month, and you're making $160 now, you should be socking away about $130. Well, with taxes, maybe $110,000. Yeah. And I said, how much are you saving? So, well, we're not saving it. We're spending everything we have. Yeah. Think about that for just a minute. If it takes all of $160,000 to live today, how are you going to cut that by to 1/5 of that? Mm-hmm. So yeah, realistic. Good catch.
The next point here is tackling debt. You want to get your debt under control. Obviously, there's good debt and bad debt, like we talked about. There's a difference between credit card debt, which is bad debt, and like a mortgage, which can be good debt.
Yeah, and I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and the question about having a mortgage in retirement, does it make sense? Well, the question, is it depends. If you're getting a mortgage today and you're getting a 7 or 8% mortgage and you're going to carry that into retirement, yeah, maybe we need to pay that off. If you refinance 3 or 4 years ago and you're carrying a 2.5% mortgage, that's pretty cheap money. Maybe it's better putting the money in your 401k. Having said that, though, there are some people who just their lifelong goal has been to pay off their house, and if that's an overriding factor, it's not a bad thing. It may not be the best thing, but if that's going to let you sleep well at night, then we would encourage you to do that.
Yeah. Nearly half of homeowners between the ages of 60 and 70 have a mortgage still when they retire. Yeah. So you're not behind,
right?
If you've retired and still are paying off your house. That's actually a pretty common thing.
It is, and again, it's a math. When we can take these questions that people have, when you call us, we'll take a lot of information, because typically when we can get the question down to a math problem and show you the answer, the way you want to go is going to be self-evident. It's just that it's confusing for folks sometimes. If we get it down, make some assumptions, realistic assumptions, and show you the difference, usually, not always, but usually the answer is self-evident.
Yeah. Number 3, take advantage of catch-up contributions. We talked about a magic number being age 50.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so because when they set up these retirement plans, they knew that some of us, it's sometimes very difficult when you're 30 and 40 to start really getting serious about planning for or saving for retirement, because you have these things called children and this thing called college. And as children get older, they stay on the payroll longer. And it's just hard to have extra money. So one of our priorities is to try to get the kids through school and stuff. So when you land at 50 is usually about the time where the kids are gone, the college is behind you, and you have extra money. But if you're limited to how much money you can put in your IRA and your 401k, it might hurt you. So Congress, in their infinite wisdom, sometimes they do things right. They will allow you to increase your 401ks up to $30,500 and your IRAs up to $8,000. Really, if you can, take advantage of that. And then which kind of IRA, whether it's a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, you're going to pay taxes now or you're going to pay taxes later. It's something that probably, again, we should probably talk about. But take advantage of that. This money, these IRAs qualify for special tax privileges, and we want to make sure we get every single dollar we can.
For sure. The next tip here is create a health savings account. What is a health savings account?
A health savings account is a money you can put into an account, that usually a bank, and there's some other financial institutions that hold it. You can put money in there after tax and let it grow until they get big enough. They're really not invested. They're usually just put in CDs and stuff like that. But when you take that out for qualified health expenses, they're tax-free. So the idea is between your 50s and mid-60s, if you can put a bunch of money in these HSAs, then as you get into your 70s and 80s, you're going to need more and more money. You'll have a bucket of money that you've already paid taxes on and will be tax-free when you take it out. The challenge is, the way the law is written, is you have to have a high deductible plan to qualify for an HSA. So before you go and open an HSA, make sure that the health plan that you have, because it's tied to your health plan, lets you open an HSA. And if you can, then put the money in, because it's not like an employer plan where if you don't use it in that year, you lose it. you don't use it, it continues to build and continues to build with compound interest.
Yeah. So, point number 5 here is make the most of Social Security. And what that means, what they intend it to mean, is have a plan for how you're going to use Social Security.
Yeah.
Are you going to take it early? Are you going to take it on time? Are you going to wait? You need to have some sort of plan, or at least begin thinking about a plan in your 50s as to how you're going to do that, because that affects the rest of your retirement plan.
Yeah, and one of the things that we catch often is people say, yeah, but Social Security is not going to be around when I'm 67 or 70, so I want to start taking it at 62. We would ask you to go listen to our Social Security podcast, and so that you can see that it will be around. Taking the money, people then say taking the money at 62, because I'm going to take the money for 5 years before I start taking it at 70. I'll have way more money. And certainly if I take it at 62 and you're telling me to wait till 70, it just makes sense. It's intuitive that since I started getting the check at 62 and the other way, I'm not getting the check until I'm 70, that I'll have more money. And so what we're going to show here is the same amount of money. I think it's $2,000 a month. The blue line is starting at $2,000 a month. The orange line starts at 66, which was full retirement age then, and then the gray line starts at 70. And you can see that it's around age 79 where all of these things converge. And by the time we get to 80, the waiting till 70, you will have in total accumulation more money than, because you're getting after 67, you're getting like an 8% bump every year. So you're getting way more money a month. And so by 80, we will have received more from Social Security than if you started at 62. Very counterintuitive. And so one of the questions we have to ask is, how's your health? And how long did your parents live? Because that will give us an idea of what your longevity is. And if you have some health struggles and everybody in your family has died before 80, well, then maybe starting at 67 might make some sense. And by the way, you can start at any number between 62 and 70. But if everybody in your family's lived 85 or 90 and you take care of yourself in good health, then maybe it might make some sense from just trying to get more out of the system than what you would otherwise waiting until 70. But every decision is different. So,
right.
Very personalized.
The next point here is generate income beyond investing. In your 50s, likely you're still working. If you feel like you're behind, this is recommending maybe a side job as a consultant or like a part-time something. Give yourself some more income, a little bit of a boost towards retirement.
Yeah, and it might even help you with your taxes, and here's how. If you become a consultant and you're a contractor now, you get paid with a 1099, then all of a sudden you're self-employed. And when you're self-employed, the tax code opens up to you and you're able to take a lot more deductions than you can when you're W-2. That's one thing to help manage taxes. The second thing is, yeah, you'll generate extra income that if you're not needing it, you can sock that away, help you towards your retirement. Thirdly, it might set up a business that you can do after you retire. My favorite story is that, we were part of the First Tee for a long time. We had somebody that we met, not a close friend, but he loved the First Tee and he loved reshafting clubs. People would donate adult clubs. We have to take them, cut the shafts, regrip them so we can get them small enough for our kiddos. And he just loved doing that. And after he retired, somebody told him that he could do that as trying to make a profit on it. And so he started doing that. And he would, where you would take, it would be like $200 to get your grips reshafted at a pro shop or something. He would do them for $100. So we like that. And he kept doing everything for the First Tee as free. But all of a sudden, all of the things that he was buying and the time, all of that became a tax deduction. So not only was he generating a little extra money that he would have done for free anyway, because he just liked doing that kind of stuff, but it also helped reduce his taxes as he went into retirement. So, maybe it's not, like you say, maybe it's not reshafting clubs for First Tee, but maybe it is consulting, or maybe it is whatever it is, maybe you become an author or a painter or an artist of some kind. So
it doesn't have to be going into Walmart and being a greeter necessarily, but there's a lot of options. There's a lot of ways to make money.
And in your life, there's probably been something that you have liked doing that you could never figure out how to generate a big income out of. Well, now if you're retiring and the plan is good, it would be good to generate a little extra income that you don't need to make a big income out of, and then do something you enjoy doing anyway, make a little income, and maybe get some help with taxes on top of that. By the way, I am a CFP, but I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant. I don't give tax advice. So before you do any of these things, check with your tax advisor, because, I don't want to get in trouble.
The last thing here is don't abandon stocks in your portfolio. As you get closer to retirement, everybody tells you to get more conservative because you're getting older.
Yep.
So that's good, but you don't want to completely go away from stocks, because that's kind of how you keep up with inflation in broad general terms.
You're exactly right. A couple of generations ago, our business was pretty easy because the people retire at 65 and they die at 67. Don't need a whole big plan for that. And we could, at 60 or something, put everything in bonds, generate 3 or 4%, and everybody would be happy. And well, here's the problem now is people are retiring at 62 or 65 or 70, but they're living, median retire or life expectancy for female is 88, for male is 84. But in that number, 88 and 84, are some pretty unhealthy lifestyles, like coal miners and smokers and drug addicts and prostitutes. And then prostitutes that are drug addicts that are smokers that work in a coal mine. They don't live very long. But when you take that sector, if you could, take those people out of the group that we're going to work with, it's going to be closer to 90, and the fastest growing part of our demographic right now is people over 100. So when you retire at 67 or whenever, you're in for another 20 to 25 to 30 years of retirement. And so you need to keep, exactly as you said, you need to keep that growth engine, which is stocks, as a part of your portfolio. How big a part? Well, that's going to depend on a lot of things. Do you have a pension? What's your risk tolerance? All these other things. At Wealth Defense Radio, we create our own pensions. We call them self-funded pensions through a pretty simple process, but you have now generated income for the rest of your life and guaranteed for you and your spouse. So don't abandon stocks. That's a play. And if you're behind, don't put 100% of your money in stocks, because that's the other thing that happens. Oh my God, I'm so far behind, I need to catch up. And then you put 100% of money into your stocks, and then when the market takes a 20% downturn, your entire portfolio goes down 20%, and then you're in a real panic. So well-diversified portfolio, but stocks should always be in your portfolio. How much, what percent is going to depend on a lot of things. Talk to somebody like us.
Yeah. So if you have questions,
I hope you do,
about any of the things that we just talked about.
Every of the things we just talked about.
Every single thing.
Except maybe the Olympics.
We have a couple of different ways that you can contact us. And the first way is an email address, and that is info@swandfw.net. That's info, like short for information, at swandfw.net. Or we have a phone number, and that phone number is 888-792-6339. That spells out 888-SWAN-DFW.
And what does SWAN stand for?
Sleep Well at Night, Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah, and that was simply no brainstorming, no big groups to figure it out. I asked 2 or 3 clients what they wanted when we started this, and they said, we're never going to get rich. We just want to sleep well at night. And I thought, what a great thing. So,
yeah. So if you like word plays, 888-SWAN-DFW. If you like being able to type it into your phone, that's going to be 888-792-6339.
yeah, that's probably better because somebody gave me a number with just a word the other day, and I couldn't remember that on the dial, each letter has a different corresponding. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, so we're going to stick with the phone number.
Okay.
But that's all we got for y'all. Next week, we're covering 60-year-olds and things that you should think about.
That's right.
So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll catch y'all in the next one.
Have a blessed day.
The preceding content is informational only and based on information available when created. It is not an offer or solicitation, nor is it tax or legal advice. It does not consider your financial circumstances and objectives and may not be suitable for you.